Hi, everyone, and welcome to Daily Revelations. This is a weekday Bible study using precepts and methods, going through different books of the Bible. And we are in Daniel. We are just covering Daniel 1 this week, and today is day 4 of this study. So you've read through it now 3 times, doing different precept methods, and today on day 4, what we focus on is the who, what, where, when, why, how, making lists of what is going on in this chapter. And as you do that, how is God pointing something out to you that maybe you missed in just reading through the text? This is why we do this. This is why we approach it from different angles, because there is so much in just one chapter that if you read through it, yes, you get a cursory overview of what's going on, but you don't really dig into the nuances of what the book is and the chapters are saying. So I made a list. It wasn't as long as some of the lists that I make when going through a chapter, but sometimes when you do this, one thing is going to pop out, just like the who, the what, the where, and then following that. Today for me, was a combination of a bunch of different things that came out from these different questions. And the word that popped out in the what was families. That there were families involved in this process, and thinking of my own family and my own children and my parenting, and that just really hit me. And also that Daniel, in the when, he was about 15 years old when this happened to him, and thinking about my daughter, who is 15, turning 16 soon, and being around that same age. And then the why. The why that I wrote down was actually a verse from that chapter, and the verse was it was in verse 2. It says, "The Lord gave these people into the hands of King Nebuchadnezzar," and that these families, these young children, were given into this land. And finally, I got to the how. It was God's overarching divine will, is what I put down. Really, his covenant promise he was going to keep, but his will for the nation of Israel to be his people, who they weren't being, and why he said this was going to happen. But it was part of a plan that they had chosen. And oftentimes, these overarching promises that God gives us, we think are going to play out in all of the details of our day. That if we have things go right, that's part of his purpose. If we, do something right, that is going to be part of our purpose. But yet if we fail, we're going against God's purpose, and God cannot use that. But the problem is that God sees us in our entirety, sin and all. And he says, within that context, within all your mistakes, within all your quirkiness, within all the things that you do good and the things that you fail at, I am working out your purpose and the purpose of your children and the purpose of your friends. All of these things are coming together for something greater. And I know I used to struggle so much with this when my kids would just you just kind of go, why are you doing what you're doing? And this is going to drive your mother crazy, because it doesn't look like what God could use in your life. Listen to what Romans 8:28 says. "And we know that God causes all things to work together for good for those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose." God has an overarching plan. Just like in Daniel's life, we're just seeing the beginning of that. He has an overarching plan for your life, an overarching plan for your children's life. He is calling them to a greater purpose. And that greater purpose isn't just about all the good stuff. It's a mix of everything that goes on in life. And that is hard to sometimes accept. But that's where grace comes in, forgiveness, and just moving on and trusting in faith that God is going to work it all out for good. So if you're struggling in a place yourself, dealing with a sin or a temptation or just a bad habit you want to get over. God is going to use that for good. Just keep trusting Him in it. And maybe it's your children that are doing that. Trust Him. He is working out something for a greater overarching purpose. And we may not see that in this life, but it is something that God promises. We have to hold on to that promise and hold on to it in faith. So thanks for joining me on Daily Revelations today. Hope that you have a very good study as well in Daniel 1, doing the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I will join you again tomorrow as we wrap up the videos and the podcast for this. And then I tell you about what you need to be doing over the weekend as well to continue the study on your own before we start Daniel 2. So bye, everybody. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow.